I put out the ask to GHURA director Ray Tapasnia since last week. Can you come on about well, we all know what about. It's weird because usually he's so like itchy to jump on, like you know what I mean. He loves the spotlight, but hasn't had him on. And last night I said, "Hey, so what's the deal? Are you coming on or what?" And he told me the board wants him to let the dust settle first. So there was a whole lot of dust that came out yesterday during that.
Roundtable.
It wasn't an oversight hearing. It's a little too friendly for an oversight hearing. Definitely, that's kind of a problem. Yeah, but so I don't know how long it's going to take this dust to settle. Also, I reached out to Public Auditor BJ Cruz. I said, come on the show, respond to these. There was some stuff that came out in the hearing. The BJ said, I didn't watch the hearing. Okay. And his staff is preparing a response.
I watched some of it, and I got to tell you, I was confused. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell. Was it a raise? Was it a pay adjustment? Was it an increment?
That's ridiculous.
What was it? You didn't get paid, but you did get raises last year. I just.
I mean, to me,
and
though.
then you had an independent auditor. It just kind of just went all the way around the world. And I just kind of was like, what are we talking about now?
And I just feel like there wasn't a really
Senators getting muted.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really a farce, guys. It's a farce. And you'll see like these alliances and where it becomes problematic when you have, sitting senators who are totally beholden to Adeloop and they just can't do their job adequately because of that. And you see it with the way that hearing was conducted. It's really troublesome. But we did have a couple clips here to play.
Did you want to play?
Yeah, I want to play one, and then we'll go. We have in the KUM News Zoom room. Well, good morning. We have a couple of pesky Republicans. Minority Leader Senator Telo Taitague, and of course Senator Jim Moylan. I put out the ask to Senator Teresa Lahi. Crazy morning, she couldn't come on, so here we are. Good morning.
Mm-hmm. Can we play that clip then with Senator Teresa Lahi, and then maybe you guys can chime in and just kind of let us know what exactly was that all about?
Right.
This was Senator Teresa Lahi. She was asking Ray Tapasnia, the executive director of GHURA, some questions.
Right, and we'll get to that right after we get to this. We're KUAM FM in Agatnia, Guam. To our viewers on KUAM TV, hi, esta, bye. Jump over to our KUAM News Facebook live feed and also on the Breeze, the link 93.9. Again, that clip that Bree was just talking about from yesterday's GHURA hearing.
When you said, Mr. Director, that the governor gave you 3 weeks, what do you mean by that? When was that deadline? When you said, Mr. Director, that the governor gave you 3 weeks, what do you mean by that? When was that deadline given, and what was that? Why was that deadline given, as opposed to what the auditor had requested or the statute had mandated?
We had a Zoom conference call with the governor's office and the OPA and GHURA. And we were given a 3-week timeline to complete the audit. And we met that 3-week timeline. We completed that timeline. I forget the exact date, but it was on a Friday, and the audit wasn't released till several days later. So, that's why, again, a lot of finger pointing. But if in fact the audit needed to get out as soon as possible, you would think if we finished it on a Friday that you could possibly release it by Saturday or Sunday. The ones conducting the audit is not the OPA. The ones conducting the audit are the independent auditors. So we're not conducting the audit. So a lot of finger pointing. I'm not the one doing the audit. I'm trying my best. We cannot control, as I said earlier. Maybe the legislature needs to pass or needs to look into why it took a while for GHURA to award the contract for the audit. There were issues that were beyond my control. And I'm not going to litigate this in the media or in front of the legislature. But if I'm telling you and I can provide you documentation that there are matters that are outside of my control simply because the procurement process requires those to be included in the evaluation committee outside of GHURA, I can't tell another agency to appoint today or else. That's outside of my control.
Yeah, but that is perhaps what the governor's office could have assisted with if you're talking about other agencies needing
No,
to?
the governor's office didn't have control over those other agencies, but I will not say who
Are
those
they
other
government
agencies
of
are.
Guam agencies? Are you talking about
Yes.
government of Guam agencies? Okay. So I think the governor actually has control of the government of Guam.
No, the governor doesn't have control, madam, of the legislature, nor the utilities, nor certain entities.
So there's a
Directed
legislative,
effort.
there's a legislature representative on your GHURA procurement rating team. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying if I told you publicly who may have contributed to the delay, it would just create more problems. So I prefer not to say it. You can probably ask me offline.
Well, if it's an issue, then you should be telling us what the issues are that we can correct, Mr. Director. When you said that you were instructed to appoint a new auditor, what do you mean by that? Who instructed you?
Well, there's two issues. We were instructed to not exercise the option to extend, which delayed it even further, because if we went with the same auditor, we would have been done way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, so
So we were directed to not to exercise that option to extend, and then as part of the procurement process, someone had to be appointed outside of GHURA onto that panel that would evaluate, and I didn't have control over that either. But me telling you what that agency is would just add insult to injury.
Ayade. Okay, so who instructed you not to extend the term, or you said to appoint a new auditor? Who instructed that? You were instructed by who?
The same individual that's been interviewed recently and declaring that our audit is leading up to a third-party receiver.
Okay, and so when was that instruction made?
Sometime last year. I would have to verify with our
in 2019.
Yes.
So okay. And when was the RFP made, and when was the contract made for your new auditor?
You know, my apologies. I didn't know we were going to get into those details. I can provide you that information later.
But just approximately, was it in 2019, or was it after the COVID health emergency?
Oh no, way in early on, or I don't know, mid part of 2019.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, I think those are all my questions, but yeah, I just again want to say that, you know, we are trying to understand, you know, what happened and why, and you also, I think, should just try to understand too that, you know, the public auditor brought this to our.
Can we run that through the decoder ring? Because public auditor BJ Cruz said he didn't watch the hearing. So, senators.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think they're in
okay.
shock, like we
Yeah,
would.
are you guys in shock too? You're just like, huh? What?
Well, first, you know, it was priceless when you heard Senator Therese Terlahi say, "Ayade."
I mean, really, it's just from the get-go. I mean, they let him go into a PowerPoint where he wants to lambast the media and talk about all this misinformation that's in the media. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger,
Right.
okay? I mean, we just really reported on what the public auditor said. And so for Ray's Tapasnia to be allowed to go on take a dump on the media for an hour is free reign. And then also see senators not even, and this is so typical, senators getting muted, not being allowed to ask questions.
Well, I think if I was a Democrat, they probably wouldn't have muted me, you know, and you know, they would probably let it go like they do on the session floor. But whenever we come up to say something that actually has a point to make, you know, the character of an individual, especially someone who oversees tens of millions of dollars, their character.
Yeah,
is
we're gonna play
definitely
this.
questioned.
Senator Tello, they're gonna play this clip that you're talking about here.
Speaking of truth, Mr. Tapachia, I have to ask you, I mean, we all respect Senator B.J. Cruz, former Senator B.J. Cruz, and most especially, speaking of truth, Mr. Tapachia, I have to ask you, I mean, we all respect Senator B.J. Cruz, former Senator B.J. Cruz, and most especially a former judge, and he said to you, he said, and I quote, that you were a liar, that Mr. Tapachia, you are a liar, and that you do this with a straight face. What do you have to say about that?
Excuse me, Senator San Augustine, I thought this wasn't going to be about personal attacks.
Can you mute her? Can you mute her, please?
Yes. Stand by, Ray.
The last time this happened, I thought
Senator
ethics
Tello.
complaints. Oversight Chair.
Right. No, we're gonna move on. Senator Tello, that's not acceptable. I gave fair warning. Personal influence as to the character or motive of any individual is not
Raise
permitted.
Tapachia or
Okay,
Senator
Tello,
San Augustine?
that's enough. We're not gonna go through this no more.
Go ahead. Let me unmute you. Senator.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
And that was another thing that I was very confused because, are you muting me right now?
No, we can hear you. Yeah.
Well, this should have been an oversight, and even though it was a round table, I've seen it many times where we've sworn individuals in. So it sounded to me like Ray wanted this round table instead of an oversight, probably because he wasn't going to be sworn in. But he has to realize this is being recorded for everybody to see. And like I said, my questioning was about his character and actually giving him an opportunity to debate what Senator or former Senator B.J. Cruz, an OPA auditor, had to say. But anyways,
yeah, it's unfortunate, Senator, because Public Auditor B.J. Cruz called Ray Tapachia a pathological liar, and he was talking about not Ray Tapacia's personal life. He was talking about his public performance as a publicly funded executive director of an agency. So my message to these the deputy director of GHURA is don't be a deputy director. If you can't stand the heat and you only want to do the job when it's campaign time, then don't be a deputy director, because that's not personal. It's not personal. We're paying you guys. I mean, Jesus, Ray is making what, 150 some thousand? The deputy's making over 100. Stand in and answer the questions. If another public official calls you a liar and they're talking about your public duties, then it's not personal, in my opinion. Anyway.
yeah, absolutely.
Senator Moylan, what was your takeaway from whatever that was yesterday?
Right. Well, from the start, as you were saying, Chris, when we get this 20-minute presentation coming from the director, and it's basically a disclaimer of all what he says are just accusations, starting with the OPA report coming from Deloitte and the summary report that B.J. Cruz provided to us. A disclaimer saying that the OPA basically doesn't know what they're talking about. And
Nobody
even
knows.
though they had main what they call material weaknesses in their findings, and also significant deficiencies in their findings regarding money and procedures and accountability, the OPA and Deloitte from that presentation basically says they don't know what they're talking about. And then he went on to hit the media, you mentioned as well. Again, the media doesn't have their facts straight and basically doesn't know what they're talking about. And then the presentation went into the legislature. And again, the legislature doesn't have their facts straight because I guess we're reading OPA's report and listening to the media, so we don't know what we're talking about either. So that's the start of the meeting, right? And then as we get into it further, it just continues on and on and on.
It like snowballed. The stupidity just kept snowballing.
Oh yes,
Man,
you can just, you feel it.
I felt it when Senator Regine Bisco-Lee asked Ray Tapachia about getting a raise. And then Ray Tapachia spent 12 minutes. I think he's still answering the question right now. It's a yes or no question. did you get a raise or whatever? And he was like, oh, it's not a raise. It's a performance-based evaluation increase, an increment of pay. Well, anytime your pay goes from X amount of dollars and it increases to 150 gajillion thousand a year, I don't know. I went to public school. Maybe it's because I went to public school and my math teacher, Mr. Rollins, didn't math me good enough. But I don't know, if your pay increases, isn't it a raise?
It sure is. And
yeah.
And as well, he said, basically change the law then. He said, have a senator introduce something to,
yeah, that was funny. That was just, and he said that on this show too. He said, oh, if I can't get a raise, then, you know, all these GovGuam employees out here are getting their 3% of 20 grand. They don't deserve a raise either. And you senators should stop it for everybody.
Yeah, which is incorrect. We're just talking about the unclassified positions, political appointed positions,
right?
Making 6-digit figures when there are over 30,000 people that have either lost their wages or hours or lost their jobs completely. And now we're going to make this a battle to say, yes, I deserve my increment, or based on what the commission, the board says, because I did an outstanding job and OPA doesn't know what they're talking about. So actually, I did introduce a measure. It's Bill 403, strictly for unclassified, whether you're in the governor's office or you're director or deputy director or assistant of the assistant, you know, hired politically during a pandemic period. If that's what we must do, then okay, here's the bill. No pay raises during state of emergency for an epidemic pandemic situation, because I can't get it through this director's head. Nor am I going to keep on trying. So we're just going to move this bill and hopefully move it forward and get a public hearing to, if that's what we have to do. It's unfortunate. But going back to also what you had to explain with Senator Taitague's comment there, and what Ray Chbosna was talking about is the audit report, right? That we were waiting for, Senator Telo and myself. We were all told to wait for this audit report. Wait to see what the financial statements of the government of Guam will be. Will we have excess money or not? You know, and we're all the committee chairpersons, you know, all the senators in charge of the hospital and public health and so forth are all waiting to see, where's the money going to come from? How can we help the people, especially during this time? And this report was delayed until I think the final day when we were in public hearing. And we asked what was the problem, and that was the tape recording that Senator Therese was asking about. And basically, he says it was not my fault; it's somebody else's. But I'm not going to tell you. You can ask me later. But it really, I did everything possible. Again, it goes back to his presentation at the beginning, that 20-minute presentation, where it's the media doesn't understand, the OPA doesn't understand, the legislature doesn't understand. Basically, nobody understands what goes on at GHURA. So it's unfortunate. So hopefully with this bill, we can get things straight, because we'll get through this current pandemic, but there could be another one. And I don't want to see any appointed officials get a pay raise during times when the people are hurting. That's just wrong.
All right, Senator Telo.
I think there's one thing that I asked too during that. I just wanted to add in with a pay raise or increments. In less than 2 years, this individual, I asked the question, he received about $22,000 in increases, less than 2 years since he's been the director. And now he wants an additional $6,000. So they corrected me. They said, oh, Senator, no, it's actually, I think 18 or $12,000. Did I say million? I'm so into the millions, right? $22,000 in the last less than 2 years. And they corrected me, said, no, Senator, I think it was like 12 or 18,000 in less than 2 years he's already received in increments. And now he wants an additional 6,000. That it boggles me to think that he's worth that amount of money, you know, considering all the mistakes that have been being made right now with regards to getting the audit out in time and then blaming everybody else for those 2 discrepancies or questionable things that OPA brought out. It's very disingenuous too for him to say that. This what really got me was when he said, if you're attacking me, then you're attacking everyone here at GHURA. at the office? And I said, absolutely not. You know, I wanted to make it clear to all the hardworking individuals at GHURA, we're not attacking them. It's this director. You know, the decisions that he's making, he's the one that's at fault
I
here.
think the employees
you know,
they know. Yeah.
and that was just so disingenuous. He was like hiding behind all his staff. You know, you got to hit them too if you hit me. No, he was put in that position to do a job, and he's accountable for it. And definitely his attitude and his character is in question here.
Watch out! You're
When
about
you
to get
have
muted. You're about to get muted. Don't get personal. Unless you're gonna get really personal.
Yeah. But anyways, I just wanted to put that to. And I did ask. Yeah, go ahead. I did ask for them to bring on Deloitte and Touche as well as the OPA. I sent a letter to the oversight chair, San Augustine, to bring them on. And he refused to do that. He didn't bring Deloitte and Touche. And here we are talking about an audit. We should have at least had them there. We also talked about what Therese was bringing up regarding the who decided not to go with the current auditor that they had before. I think was Berger Kammer Maglamari, probably destroyed that name, but and he basically throws BJ under the bus and saying, well, it was BJ told us not to. You know, he didn't say BJ, he said the same person that said we're going into receivership. I think we
It was a
have
little
to
coy.
be really
It was kind of
careful.
funny, right? It was kind of funny the way it turned out.
Yeah, so there was a lot of questions, but the integrity of those hardworking individuals at GHURA, they do a great job. Kathy Taitano, with all the programs that she's initiating, is amazing, the kind of work that she has. They're lacking in accountants, you know. Maybe they should use some of that increment to hire an accountant rather than give the director another raise/increment. And I believe that you can. He said that, or someone said, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, if you remember the part where they said, well, I think it was Sabina Paris asked the question, can we use some of that money, the increment, and use it for another program? And they're saying, oh, it's going to be very difficult. Oh, no. GHURA sets the budget and sends it to HUD. And if they have any kind of changes, all they have to do is say, we've decided to use, instead of this money for administration, to use it for programs. Yeah. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So it's not difficult. That money can go to those programs. All right. I think it was food pantry, lost jobs, right, you know, homes, rental. There's a lot that needs to be done right now, not increments to individuals who already make six figures. Yeah.
Senator, just so you know, we're referencing our story, which apparently everyone's got a problem with at GHURA. But Topasian was hired at GHURA in January 2019 at a salary of $136,596, not including benefits. And he had already received an $18,000 raise in October of 2019, 9 months after he was hired, bringing his salary to $154,479 a year.
So it was.
Yeah. Okay.
So 18. Yeah. Okay.
But don't take our word for it, because we might be misleading you.
I think we got those numbers from the OPA report and also the media.
Right. Yeah. Okay. We got to run, senators. We got a lieutenant governor coming up.
Oh, but before we go, I just wanted to wish my father happy birthday. He's 92 years old today.
Right on.
Happy birthday, Dad. I love you so much. You know, the guy's stronger than I am. I tell you, he's still going. And the one thing he said for his, you know, being at 92 and still strong and driving his sports car Miata still, and he says, don't worry. You know, Telo, that's what keeps you a long life, is just don't worry.
And get a Miata.
Happy birthday, Dad. Love you.
Happy birthday, Joe.
What? No singing?
Thank you.
Okay, Senator. Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, Senator.
Wash your hands. Be nice, guys.
No personal attacks.
It's 8:30.